Welcome to the 306 Podcast. My name is Scott, and we are joined this week by two great guys, Brandon Keenan and Nick Lamantia. Thank you for that. Where we're going to be talking about their new film, Body Farm. It is in rotation through film festivals at this point, and we're going to be talking about how they came up with this concept, how they took the lead and made this film on practically a zero budget as far as the film industry is concerned, and actually turned something out that is pretty awesome. That's this week on the 306 Podcast. So like I said, I'm joined by Brandon and Nick, and so guys.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It was a little bit of a hurdle to get here.
A little bit.
As you hail from Pittsburgh area, and we're east of Pittsburgh, but I'm so excited to have you guys here and talk about this film. But not just the film, but just the entrepreneurial spirit that you have and the leadership that you had to cast out to get people, because you had some pretty awesome connections for this film, and you went above and beyond what your local, film students are being taught here. So do you want to talk a little bit about the backstory of how you even started down this project journey?
Yeah, what originally was a script I had written in like 2007, I had finally finished it up, and honestly, it had sat on the shelf for years until I would say it was 2015, I think it was. And we decided, let's try to make the first 12 pages of the script and see, if we could raise funds or whatever. We didn't really have a plan when we first started shooting, it wasn't like a business plan or anything like that. And we did the first 12 pages, and Nick kind of came to me and he was like, we could probably do this. And I said to him, I was like, well, do you just want to take over directing with me and we could do this? And we didn't really put a time frame together. We just kind of went with it, and we're shooting several, once, sometimes it was like once a month, funding wise, money wise, it was like we were funding it ourselves. I mean, we didn't have anybody backing us to just, hey, let's do this in 20 days and bring in a full production crew. Yeah,
and it's not like you guys just have millions and millions of dollars laying around.
No.
I mean, you and I have known each other for over 7 years.
It's been a while.
You actually gave me one of my big breaks whenever I moved to Pittsburgh, and I was looking for film work. And so I saw an ad on Craigslist, which, take that for what it's worth, but it was for videography. And so, I mean, you're a small business owner. You're not just laying in cash. And Nick, I don't know. This is the first time we've actually met, so maybe you do have
I just have mounds of it. Don't tell my wife. But no, we have, I think when you look at Body Farm in and of itself, it is a lot of people that came together. And I've been in the Pittsburgh film industry since 2005. So you do the math. I'm an English teacher, so.
Yeah, I'm not good at math either.
Yeah, that's not my
I was a
thing.
Communications major in college.
I didn't go to college.
Math doesn't.
So math isn't at this round table. But 2005, I got into the film industry and worked as an actor first, and then started directing things with Brandon coming on as a producer. And together we sort of have meandered the past 10 plus years in the film industry. And when this project came to, and Brandon said, hey, do you want to do this with me? I said, yeah, let's do it. And we came on as co-directors, like he said, shooting 1 to 2 days a month, taking what we learned from all of our short film experience and Brandon's experience owning a small company. And I have a small media company myself that doesn't do as much work nearly as Brandon's. But taking that budget sense and working with people that we worked with in the past and finding the best way to go about it in a minimalistic approach, using people's skills to the best of their ability and without taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like you used, just family and friends. I mean, I'm just looking at the cast list, and it's huge. I mean, it's not like this is 4 or 5 people coming together and you're playing 4 and 5 parts.
Yeah,
this is a legit full blown film.
Yeah, and we still had, there were still people that were playing 4 or 5 parts and to make things work. But we had, I don't even know what the IMDb cast and crew credits are, but it's a lot.
It's a ton.
There's a lot of people that put a lot of effort into it. Nick and I we might have been manning the ship per se, but if you broke it down, we could talk for hours upon hours of all the guys that took part in this film and had guys and girls, I shouldn't just say guys, that really had a lot of impact on this.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was finding the perfect fit. If you look at the cast, using my experience in the film industry and our fellow producer John Gallagher's and Brandon, we held auditions for certain roles. Certain roles we knew actors that would fit.
Yeah.
And so we reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to play? And do you want to help us make this feature film?" We'd send them the script. We talk about it, figure out what worked for everybody, and we came together and were able to put together a mostly Pittsburgh-centric cast and crew of people that were passionate about the part, that in our eyes fit the part perfectly.
Yeah, and Nick's been an actor in the industry a lot longer than I was, and he has had a chance to work with a lot of great people. And he would just come to me and say, "Hey, worked with so and so. They were amazing. Let's bring them in." And there was never a point in time where I questioned or doubted. I mean, and it became such a good group of people. I mean, we all, not only did we become, friends on set, but became a group of filmmakers that really started to learn the whole nature of independent filmmaking. I mean, sure, we didn't have 10 production trucks on set. We were bringing things in SUVs,
right?
But we learned a lot of things, and Nick knew a lot of people that I didn't even know. I mean, there was points in time where our guys like Tim Roberts and Kevin Hania, they're bringing stuff in, parts and pieces that I didn't even know what they were. And I'm learning, as time goes on. I'm like, well, what is that? And he explains it to me. Oh, well, this is these China balls here. We put these here, here, and here. And obviously, I knew what a C-stand was, but they were using C-stands. It was unbelievable. We had one shoot where we had the field goal posts for some of the medical lab scenes and stuff. I mean, it was wild. I mean, the things that they brought in and put together was really cool.
I think one of the big things when you're working on a small scale, because there were days where we only had 4 or 5 crew guys and then maybe 2 or 3 actors, is trusting everybody's ability to do their job and not stepping over. And with our crew, we had a core crew of Dave Major, our sound guy, Kevin Hana, the first assistant director, who, because we were in a lot of scenes, Kevin was taking the reins often. Steve Croner, our director of photography, Tim Roberts, our gaffer, and second unit director of photography, and then a slew of different production assistants and grips rotating through that were able to make this film possible. And those 4 guys really were the heart of like making that team happen, along with Michael Williams, our production designer / special effects guy. Those people made this film look way better than the budget indicates, and it's not us patting ourselves on the back. I don't shoot for a screen that's on your cell phone. When I shoot something, I shoot for the 40x70, and I want it to be seen across. And having worked with these guys, that's what I dictated to them, and they made it happen. They'd be like, "So I want this," and I'd show them my very crude storyboards. And then all of a sudden, it's just my stick figure with spiky hair turns into...
Which I've kept all the master copies of those. They're great drawings.
For later release, right?
Absolutely.
There's going to be a book, I'm sure. Production book. And next thing you know, it's Brandon walking through this brick wall. I'm like, that's my stick figure with spiky hair is Brandon. Everybody knows that.
He made me look a lot skinnier too in those drawings,
stick,
which why I really enjoyed them.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're always drawn in black ink, and black is slimming. But no, just in general, is trusting everybody to do their jobs. And literally, I'd come with storyboards and shot lists, and they'd be like, "Okay," and all of a sudden, like, "Oh man, that kicked in. That looks cool."
So aside from budgets and you're located in Pittsburgh. I mean, so you have a finite talent pool to choose from. What were some of the difficulties that you guys ran into whenever, you started to legitimately see this as a real possibility to shoot an actual full-length film?
I think in looking at it, it was locations. When we first looked at, what was that first script, 115 pages?
Yeah, I was thinking my original shooting script was 120 or 115.
So it's a minute per page, so you think it's almost 100. It was a lot
2-hour film.
Way too long.
Way too long. And so pretty much Brandon and I sat down, we pared it down. And one thing I learned from all of the short films and all the productions I've done is pare down your locations. And I got it down to 75, 76 pages?
I think when you got it back to me, it was around 72 to 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so from there, we were just like, okay, combine this location, make this. And for lack of a better term, We even have a torture room in the script because I couldn't think of something to call it, but it ended up being a workshop in the film. But we were able to find and figure out locations that way, and that was the most difficult. And it ended up being building sets in our basements.
We both built sets. I have 2 in my basement that are still there, and he
I
has
have
one.
two if you count my garage.
Yeah, technically it is 2 if you count his garage. I forgot about that one. The original script had so many different scenes and so much. The original idea was for characters to be going to and from all these different rooms and hallways and stuff. And Nick basically took the script, and I can say I wrote the original script, but Nick took my original script and was like, okay, well, how can we combine this? And, we have one room that can supply, several different actions that can happen. And you can do that and save a lot of money. And I always said this during shooting. I'm like, Nick, do we have to have sets that are so small, as in, because I'm 6'4".
We have the biggest independent film cast.
Yeah.
I'm the smallest guy at 6'2".
Yeah, there's a scene where there's 3 of us standing there, and Nick, who is not short, looks extremely short because all of our cast is very, very tall. But lighting a smaller set, though, and lighting smaller rooms, it's not as much money. It's a lot easier. You can do it quickly. You can readjust camera angles, and that helped drastically to be able to. I mean, because I think that I'm trying to think what the scene was that we just were able to use the same exact room, but it looked like different locations. You can do that and redress it and reset it. And there's ways that you can do that, again, with lighting and colors and things like that, and tones that throughout editing and even on location. And that drastically, we shot. Actually, I forgot we shot another bedroom sequence too.
Yeah, we had 3 scenes in my house, thanks to my wife.
Yeah.
Who was pregnant for part of the production too, so that was even more patience.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had those opportunities, to be able to do that and shoot a bunch of different scenes and shots on certain days, and
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to finding what works for your film.
Right.
And locations are the biggest thing. And John, our fellow producer, he's the third guy in our triumvirate. John comes with a wealth of experience, and he always said to write for the location. And so when I took Brandon's original script, like, what do we have? And there were scenes and sections of the film that when I did that rewrite, we ended up having to go back. What'd you say? We reshot maybe 12 to 15 pages?
Yeah, it was at least 12. If I remember correctly, we had to go back and reshoot.
We even changed the entire exterior of the body farm, because it just wasn't working with how the interiors worked. So we found a new location and shot there.
And because the original one we had, it was super sunny out when we shot that exterior, and you want that gloom-like look. And the second, the next time around, it was completely overcast and it looked very dreary.
And we said, you know what? If we're going to change the location, let's make it perfect.
Yeah.
And we waited until we found that right one.
Yeah.
So how long did filming take, start to finish?
If we discount that first 12 pages that we ended up tossing aside from one sequence, we went from January of 16 through June of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a long production time.
20 production days.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you keep morale up amongst cast and crew and people helping out, when you're filming in these little chunks,
I think,
and to keep
having
continuity?
Fun, having a blast on set.
Yeah, I think it's keeping it light, having it fun. You can't be serious. You have to be organized. I mean, he and I would sit down, pretty much what it would be. I would shot list, and then I'd go to Brandon and I'd look at his shot list for the weekend. And we'd schedule
Which was nowhere near as elaborate as his, by the way.
And we'd combine those, and then we'd meet with our gaffer and our director of photography before each shoot date. And all that would be mapped out. And then I would articulate all of that to our first assistant director, who would stay at my house before every production day. And every that night before we'd shoot, we'd just go through and we'd map everything out. And then Kevin and I would sit down and be like, okay, this is what we want to do. And then Kevin would keep that ship straight while we're keeping things light and making people happy and keeping people fed.
Yeah. As John Gallagher, our other producer, always says, a well-fed crew is a happy crew.
That's right.
3 times a day, 3 meals a day pretty much, we'd supply them with, and keeping everybody happy and healthy, if you will. But a lot of it came down to organization and being flexible. Like we had to do certain script rewrites sometimes Like, say, I know Tom Mirth, who's one of our actors in the film, he wasn't available one weekend. And so I was like, okay, well, how are we going to do this without Tom? We had to do a quick rewrite, and we used the other actor, Jim Johnston, in the scene instead. They're kind of a team of security officers, and we used them. Mm-hmm. We used Jim in exchange for Tom because Jim had the availability. And it was working with them and not giving them a hard time and being flexible because they're giving us their time.
Yeah.
Just being cool with that.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we kept it so light and had such a good time. And again, when you work with these guys, a lot of times in films, you do 18 straight days or 20 straight days of shooting, and then you're done. For us, it was, over a span of 2 years, we've gotten to know each other.
It was almost a monthly party. For lack of a better term, it's the get together.
It's the get together, but we're shooting a movie, and I think it was Brett Hollabaugh that said to me, he's like, you would never know. Like we'd be joking around. Okay, and 5, 4, 3, 2, and then all of a sudden we're dead.
Right into the scene.
Right into the scene. Yeah. So, there was a lot of that, and we had a blast. I mean, it was.
I think the spaced outness helped too, because it wasn't. You're not seeing the same people day in, day out, 12 to 15 hour days. By having it spaced out, it was almost something that people could look forward to. Not that they wouldn't look forward to other work, but It's just, okay, it's my body farm day of the month.
Yeah.
And we can go ahead and we can get it done. And another thing, too, is I don't think we had we had one day over 12 hours in terms of production. And it was when we shot at the Moundsville State Penitentiary.
Yeah.
We had to, we rented that out for a day. So we knew we got there at 9 a.m. and we had to get out of there with everything. So we went to almost midnight.
Until somebody's car broke down right before we had to leave.
That was mine.
Yeah.
Not mentioning any names.
In a haunted prison.
In a haunted prison, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's looking around. I'm like, oh, hold on, I need to jump.
Yep. Oh, great, Nick. Great. I'm glad that we could be the last 3 cars here.
Right.
As the security guard is closing the door, I'm like, hold on. Car's not moving.
Yep.
So then when you got into production, or post-production, I'll say, when did it click? I know with every kind of video, even when it comes from whether it's a TV spot or a short film or any length, when does it click where you finally are convinced that this is going to be good?
Oh, you never are.
Yeah, and there's still there's never a point where it's all in the eye of your audience.
Viewer.
Yeah, and the
so
viewer.
So when was it satisfying for you to look at it and appreciate that 2 years of production?
I think for me personally, I can't speak for Brandon. Jim Johnston, our one actor, he has always been my barometer for the real world audience. Like, hey, that's too existential, or hey, that's too out there. Hey, nobody's going to get this. You missed this plot point. We sat Jim down for a test screening before our first public screening in January, and we sat Jim down, and he only had one note for us, and I was like. Oh. And it wasn't even a note. It was like more of a personal opinion note than it was like a, hey, this isn't making sense note.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think
that's it.
Okay.
Now,
right.
The first time him and I went through the film, the first cut, we were just discussing on the ride in. Easily took us 6 hours to get through the film. We just kept pausing.
And it's an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah. So there
are a lot of notes taken.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a very tedious task of going through, and it was everything from like a small little lighting piece to there was a lot that goes into it. But I mean, you're never. We've watched it so many times, and I'm not sure if Nick would agree with me on this or not. But I've seen it so many times that I'm like, well, do I think it's a good film? Well, yeah, absolutely. But my opinion in my head right now doesn't really matter. It's a matter of what the audience takes from it and if they like it.
We're not making these for us.
No. It's you want to tell a good story, and I believe that. Him and I coming together and working on this and rewriting parts of it, I believe we do have a good story. But again, my opinion doesn't matter. I think it's more of the audience and what they take from it and what they think of it and if they enjoy it.
For me, it's telling a tight story with really cool characters. When I watch a movie, I don't want to see the people that I see every day talking the way I hear them talk every day. I want to see new twists on people. See people that may be out there. See they're called a character for a reason. I want to see a character. And I think we have in Body Farm a lot of very separate characters that do have interesting dialogues coming from all different directions. And it is told, it's only an hour and 15. Nobody wants to watch a horror film that's dragging on for an hour and a half plus. So for us, horror, psych thriller, whatever you want to call it, I think we have a succinct story with cool characters.
Yeah. What's one thing, as we start to wrap it up, what's one thing that you learned during the production process that you look back now and are just so grateful that you were able to experience it or to learn this feature? I mean, just something that you're taking away from this process that makes you want to get into another project.
For me personally, was learning film production from the very beginning to the end, and doing it with all my buddies, and making new friends along the way, and working with new filmmakers, learning from them, and that to me, I mean, it was my bucket list to make a full feature film one day. I feel like I've accomplished that, and after doing it once, there's no question I would love to do it again. It was a surreal experience to go to the places that we went to and locations and you know, especially when I walked in on set at the West Virginia State Pen and saw everything set up and the lighting set up, and I was like, oh my goodness, here is the movie that I wrote in 2007 starting to finally come to light. I'm like, it's crazy, you know, like I still to this day get chills thinking about it, because it was a really, really neat experience, and we had all these people that were, you know, on board with it, and they were right behind me, you know, and behind us, I should say, along the way. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I think for me, taking just a slightly different angle, it was more craft related in terms of, I worked with a gentleman one time, Sean Whalen. He's known from like People Under the Stairs, Twister, Men in Black, all these things. And I was talking with Sean, picking his brain, because he's an excellent actor, does it full time out in Los Angeles, and talking with Sean, and he said, you truly find the journey of your character from scene to scene. Because movies are shot so far out of sequence, it's different than doing a play, which I've done plays. It's different than, okay, I'm just waiting in the wings to come on. The one thing is finding the transcendence from today versus what you shot yesterday or what you shot 3 weeks before. It's finding where your character is at the beginning of the scene, and then where he's going through that scene. And then the next time you pick up, because your story's chronological, where were you at when that scene ended? And it's recreating those moments. And for me, Body Farm, because it was so spaced out, and because I had the ability, and you don't always have this as an actor, to look at the dailies, to look at all the different cuts coming in, I was able to see where I was at. And there are even instances where we were filming at Brandon's house where I was like, hey, let me check out something. Can you pull up a clip of that? And we'd look at something just to make sure that we were in continuity with where the character left to where he was going.
Yeah.
And to me, that it was more craft-based. And that's what I picked up, is because I was able to take advice from another actor and apply it to directing and acting on a full scale versus just like a day-to-day short film or something that took only 2 days to do.
Yeah, well, the thing that I'd want anyone watching this to understand is this is not something that you can kind of just throw together. I mean, and I admire what you guys have done with this film and just in general, because it's such a task. I mean, filmmaking, it's one thing to come up with a story. It's another thing to shoot that story. It's another thing to capture what the real emotions of that story are, and then to actually get it out to the public for people to see. I mean, it's daunting, and it's just so cumbersome and so heavy of a thing to do, and you guys have been able to do that. You've been able to do it well, and you did it, like you said, without any backing. I mean, you don't have any production companies coming in and offering you money, and so I just want to, that's so commendable, and I just want to congratulate you guys on that. So for the future filmmakers, for the kids that might be watching this and saying, you know what, I have a script or I have an idea, where do they start? How do they even, would you recommend they start actually getting into the film game?
Just do it. You have a camera in your hand. This right here, your cell phone, it's right there as a camera. Pick it up, shoot something. I even, for the joke videos of my son, I have iMovie downloaded on my phone. Yeah. And I can quickly cut something up in 5 minutes and make him look like a superhero. So we might as well use the technology at hand. Yeah. You'll gradually graduate to a bigger scaling, but even people are shooting films on iPhones now. Yeah. There are lenses, there are setups, there are things like that you can get. But filmmaking doesn't have to cost you everything that you think it has to cost you. Compensate those that need to be compensated, feed everybody, and just go out and tell a story. Keep your story simple, keep your location simple, and just have fun. Yeah. And that's it.
I would say, honestly, talk to people. I'm still to this day learning. Be respectful, and just and be a sponge. If you're just trying to get into the industry, which is a very hard industry to crack into, and I can't even sit here and say that I've cracked into the industry like some people have. But you talk to them. There's so many things that Nick has taught me from the first day of shooting that I didn't know. I mean, there were little things that just, little camera angle tweaks and things like that. And I remember there was a behind-the-scenes shot where Nick, I said, I forget what it was, but he turned and looked at me. He's like, "No, we can't do it that way because of this, 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 and this." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that does make sense." You have to keep learning. It's an ongoing learning experience. At least for me, that's what it has been since we started. Even with the film festival circuit now, there's so many things that I've learned just moving forward that I didn't even have a clue that Nick already had known about the film festivals. So I mean, I would recommend for future filmmakers out there, get yourself out there and try to get as much work as you can and just learn.
And don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't just say, "I only want to be a writer. I only want to be this." You have all of the tools this day and age to be all of those things. It helps you as a writer to know what the director does. It helps you as a writer to know what the cinematographer does.
Right.
Because if that scene can't be cinematically shot, nobody's going to want to shoot it.
Right.
Yeah.
He makes a good point there. When I first got into just writing scripts, all I wanted to do was just write scripts. Like that was just what I wanted to do. And I probably missed out on a couple of really good opportunities because of my thought process was, well, I just want to do this. I just want to, I shouldn't have done that. I should have been way more open to just new opportunities in filmmaking and making movies.
And if you want to try it out, go be an extra.
Yeah.
There's so much you can learn as an extra.
Just by watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's amazing to me is, like you said, if you don't understand what other tasks and roles are within the film, you're going to hinder your film's overall success. I mean, that's with anything. And so being able to let go and being able to cast that vision of what you want, I mean, I definitely think you shouldn't compromise what you want, but give the people the opportunity to step up, give them the opportunity to take what you need them to do and then make it happen for you. And so I think that's another point that is just important. So where you guys are in the festival market, but how can people see this film? How can they learn more about it?
Well, I mean, we qualified for the Pittsburgh Independent Film Festival,
Awesome.
which is run by Ron Quigley, who lives in Los Angeles, and he actually comes back here one weekend a year for this festival and puts it on, and we got qualified for it, and he asked me, would you guys be interested in headlining it and doing the opening show for it? I said,
awesome.
I'd be honored. That'd be amazing, because Pittsburgh Independent Film Festival was the one that I was like, well, we could at least have it here in Pittsburgh and people could see it if we qualified. So my fingers were crossed, and sure enough, we did qualify, and
we are up for some awards too.
We are up
Awesome.
for some awards right now, and so there is an opportunity for that. So if people want to see it, it is showing on Friday at 8 p.m. at the Father Ryan Arts Center, which is, I believe it's 420 Chartiers Avenue.
McKees Rocks.
McKees Rocks. But there's more on the website there. You can go through the Body Farm website or the festival site. And the Body Farm website's just www.bodyfarmmovie.com, and then the festival site is www.pghindy.com and indie.com, I believe. Yeah.
And they can also connect with you on Facebook.
Correct. Yes.
There as well.
Body Farm the movie on Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any future projects in the horizon?
I am.
He does.
currently slated to shoot an alien film called Kecksburg.
Okay.
Where I'll play for lack of a better term, a Men in Black agent in this film. I think it's slated for my scenes at the end of summer, early fall, somewhere around there. They're actually shooting this weekend some of the stuff. But it's, again, another spaced-out independent film. That's from Cody Knotts, has a world following for Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies and Gore Orphanage. And I've worked with him a few times. So coming back to work on Kecksburg and working on a script right now for a guy named Rob Licio, who actually did some of our graphic arts for Body Farm. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a few things lined up, but
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
I know we didn't really talk a lot about what the film is about, but I would, I'd like people to. I don't know what sort of time we have here today, but I mean, I don't want to give away too much. I want people to see the film.
Yeah, give us the plot real quick.
You're basically a film production company. decides to send one of their videographers as a lead to take a look at what's called a body farm. And a body farm is a medical facility that studies human decomposition. Whenever you pass away, how does the body break down? There are different parts and pieces to the body that can be studied from head to toe. I mean, there's everything you can imagine at these farms they study, and they put them in real life situations. They're very real. They're very disturbing, I will say that. After I had researched it back in 2007, there was only 1 or 2, I think, in the United States, and the one was in Tennessee. And I will be honest, there were seeing bodies in that sort of a positioning was that was a real life person. And I thought to myself, like, well, you could put together a really creepy horror film doing something like this. And I'm like, well, so I started writing. And basically with this film, it's about a group of filmmakers that want to do a documentary on it. And they send their videographer there. And she sends back some of her footage, which ends up, forcing them to go on the road and wanting to go out there and take a look. And it's up in the mountains, and there's acres upon acres of land, which is much like the Tennessee facility. And what they do at this facility is just as any body farm, as I discussed. And then obviously as it all starts to unfold, they realize that there's much, much more to it than just that. Nick, if you want to elaborate a little more too on it.
Yeah, I think pretty much what you're going to see is a twist between horror and psych thriller. We had days where we went through gallons and gallons of blood. Caro syrup, that is, Caro syrup. But in general, you're going to see blood, you're going to see characterization, you're going to see a tight script in an hour and 15 minutes, and a quick cameo from one Richard Christie.
Yes, Richard Christie from the Howard Stern Show.
Nice.
Makes a cameo in the film. Just luck of the draw. I ended up getting to chat with him and met with him in New York City. And it was a pretty cool experience to be able to, a guy who I've been a fan of for so long, I'd be able to have him in our film, and he loves horror films and he loved the script. So I mean, it has a lot of, if you're a horror film fan, I'd highly recommend checking it out. I think that Nick's
it's not just blood and guts.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It has its blood and guts moments, don't get me wrong, but it has a good story. I believe it has a good story behind it that people can get behind. And the characters, as Nick had said earlier, that you can get behind a lot of these characters, and they're very lively, and they're all quirky and different, and you'll see that in the film. And with all the visual elements of this movie. No cheap plug there.
Plug.
But the visual parts of this film, I do feel it makes it all come full circle, and I encourage people to check it out. It was a unique experience. It was a lot of fun, and
hopefully you have fun watching it.
Yeah, and we hope to see you guys all there too. We really want to, as many friends and family and fans of horror film, for horror films as it is, just like to see you there. So
yeah, I can't wait to get a look at it, and hopefully that will be very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys again for coming up and joining me here today on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we will catch up with everyone else next week.